Hey everybody, this is my 55-gallon Gourami tank, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of work on it, and we're going to also be doing a little bit of work on a couple of more tanks, so we're going to have a look at those as well in this video. And the reason I'm shooting the video is because the work we're going to be doing to it is not going to be the kind of work we can actually watch. In fact, I'm not really going to be doing work on it at all. I'm actually just going to turn the lights out. I may hang a cloth over the front of the tank to completely black it out. I'm not entirely sure, but once the tank is blacked out, there's nothing to really look at while we discuss it. So I figured I would just go ahead and have a little chat about the tank now, and then we'll move on to the next one where I'm going to do the same thing, and we'll have a look at that one too. So I have done this a couple times now, and each time I've gotten less and less of the Black Beard algae surviving the blackout. And you can see a lot of that really dark growth there on the rock. That's all sort of dead and died off, and you can even see how the off-box grazers in the tank have been working on that rock and getting it cleaned back up. But unfortunately, it's starting to grow back a little bit. All that stuff you can see on the glass in the back, that wasn't there a week ago after the last blackout. And so it's definitely still in the tank and still starting to come back. You can even see a little bit of that sort of reddish growth going on down at this end of the tank. So I'm definitely going to be getting in there after we're done and giving everything a good scrape out. I might get in beforehand and do a water change and maybe just scrape the glass, see if we can physically remove as much of it as possible, and then black the tank out. That might make a little more sense than doing it the other way around, but we'll see. I just wanted to get some of this on video to have a little bit of a before look once we black it out. Again, as I said, we're not going to be able to really see what's going on in the tank for a few days. So, again, a lot of success, but I have not completely eradicated it. We're going to keep on working on it, and today is going to start another cycle of blacking the tank out. The next tank I'm going to black out today is going to be this one. This is my 40 breeder Black Ghost knife fish tank, and I cleaned it recently with the ChemiClean, and it did a great job of cleaning all the kind of stuff that ChemiClean cleans. But ChemiClean does not harm algae. It doesn't kill off algae or harm plants of any sort. It only kills off the cyanobacteria and other little sort of microbial stuff. Not really sure why it doesn't affect algae, but it doesn't. And this tank has the Filamentous algae, or Spirogyra. And I've said before, it's a really, really beautiful algae. It's actually, one of its common names is Maiden's Tresses, and you can probably get a good idea of why by looking at this flowing in the current in there. So I know in context that's hideous looking. You know, the inside of a fish tank should not look like that. But if you just take it for what it really is a beautiful algae, the way it flows like that. This is the stuff that will get so thick like that it'll start forming into big clumps and mats and floating up to the surface. And this is the stuff you see floating on ponds in the end, you know, late summer and whatnot. It looks all scummy and gross, and it'll even get so much oxygen when it gets up that sunlight like that. It'll actually start to look all bubbly and foamy from the, you know, photosynthesis and the huge oxygen production that's coming out of it. So it's a vigorous grower, and I'm hoping that maybe blacking the tank out for a few days will take care of it. I don't know. The last time I blacked this tank out, it wiped everything else out, and the tank looked really good, except all this stuff came back within, I don't know, it's been, what, maybe a week, 10 days now since we did it, and it looks like this already. I probably, again, will get in there and just try to physically remove some of it if I can. I'll maybe even remove this whole chunk of Java fern right there, because you can see the bulk of it is really growing on that. I really should have pulled it out last time. I even talked about pulling it out, but I didn't. And now we've got this going on in here again. I will reiterate that the tank is clean, the water's fine, the fish are healthy. There's nothing wrong with the tank looking like this. It's just something's definitely wrong with that rainbow fish. I just noticed him swimming around. His color's all weird, and he is definitely on his last leg. Not really sure what's going on with that, but we're gonna have to get him out of there too. Interesting. Really looks bad. Almost looks bloated even too. So again, not really sure what's going on with this rainbow fish, but it is definitely time to get that one out of there. Well, as I was saying, maybe not all the fish are fine, but I don't think that has anything to do with the water conditions. Again, this is just algae growing in the tank. It's not some terrible toxic disease or something in there. It's just algae. So the water is fine. No idea what's going on with that rainbow fish. One by one, I've been losing them over the month since I've bought them. So maybe I'll reconsider whether I want to bolster that school back up. They're not cheap fish. They cost me almost 15 bucks a piece. And I started with 7, and I'm down to 3 or 4 now. So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. Anyway, this video is not about that. This video is about the work we're going to do on these tanks. So I will probably do a little bit of pre-cleaning, and then we're going to black this tank out. And this time I'm definitely going to hang something over the front of it, because the LED on my garden tank shines right on this tank. And I kind of did a makeshift. I hung one of my shirts over it last time, and it kind of covered it up mostly, but it didn't really do an adequate job. I think this time I'll actually take a piece of black cloth, you know, something similar to what I've got over the top of it there, and we'll just drape that right over the front, and that will be blacked out for real this time, and we'll see if that doesn't make any kind of a difference. And last, but certainly not least, is my purple spotted gudgeon tank. If you're a regular viewer, you'll know that this tank has been undergoing treatment. You can see the air stone in there. That's because it's been undergoing treatment. And in the last video I shot of this tank, I pointed out how, and here's an excellent example of it, if you will look at that one frond of the Java fern there, and you can see that sort of thick black coating is kind of peeling off. That is the effect that the ChemiClean is having. It's killing off all of that sort of growth and nastiness, and it's just sort of detaching from the surface that it was growing to. And you can see how beautiful and green the fern looks underneath of it. So yesterday I went in here, and there was a few clumps of that stuff actually floating, and here's one now. If you see this, it looks like a dead fern leaf. That's what I thought was happening. I thought I saw some actual fronds or leaves floating in the current in here, and it turned out that's just a sheet of that stuff that has peeled off the surface of one of those Java fern fronds and has come out like that. Can't really open this lid with one hand and hold it open while I reach in there, but let's see if I can do this. You might have to get a little funny view for a moment. Actually, let's look right in the top. So this is that piece we were just looking at on the zoom, and you can see it just comes off in that thick mat. So let's put that here for a moment, reach in, see if we can find another one. It should just be sort of coming out with gentle. It doesn't take much. All you got to do is sort of touch it, and it just detaches right off the leaf and comes right out. So I did this yesterday. That came off of the temple plant. So you can see all how that came off of this leaf right here. See how nice and bright green everything is down there now. And I'll have to get in there and clean those out, but you can see how it just knocks them right off the leaves, makes it nice and green again. This is that one I pointed out that was just sort of floating by itself next to the air stone. Again, they just come off in sheets. So, having done this for 2 moments, oop, hang on a minute, I told you this is kind of hard to do with one hand. I got the light fixture just fell over. There's another one. Let's put the light back up. Alright, so you can see just by going in there and grabbing a few pieces, I actually should have grabbed some of them back there, but we just had a little accident with the light. So I'll get in here later and do that. The point of the video is that yesterday I did that to a lot of the fern over on this side of the tank. You can see how beautiful and green everything looks. Again, for my regular viewers, you'll know that just a few days ago that looked terrible in the last video. It was all covered in that black nastiness. So I've been treating it with the ChemiClean and the air stone, And yesterday I just did that preliminary sort of pulling everything out. I didn't do a water change, I didn't shoot any video of it or anything, and then I reapplied more ChemiClean, and you just saw the ease with which we removed some of that already, and there's still a little bit in there. And over the course of the day or whatever, I'll get in there, I'll do a water change, and I'll vac a bunch of that out. But it needs another day or so. Since I did reapply it last night, we're going to give it another 48 hours. So by tomorrow afternoon or so, we should be able to get in there, and the rest of that stuff will just sort of be dead and gone. You can even see the stuff down here on the bottom is rapidly dying off. There's still a little bit of green left in it. That does indicate that it's still living and thriving. But for the most part, it looks just sort of dead, and I should be able to just vac that right out of there. And I might lose some sand, but I'm not too worried about that. So that's it. That's on my agenda for today. Again, I know we won't be able to see the blackouts, so I wanted to get everything on video before the blackouts. While we're here, we'll have a look at my Synodontis. He's face down in the Java there, just taking a nap, it looks like. So, alright everybody, I'm going to say thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss anything coming up. There's a good look at my new addition, my rainbow shark in here. It looks fantastic in this tank. Really, really happy with the way he looks. He seems to be settling in nicely. Doesn't really bother the other fish very much. He does chase the Congos around just a little bit, but he's not going to, he's not really capable of injuring them or anything, so I'm not really worried about that. And it looks like I'm disturbing my Synodontis there. So, alright everybody, as I was saying, thanks for watching this one. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm going to leave you here with this last look at my 125-gallon tank, and I will hopefully see you real soon on the next one. Thanks again.